father's name. Your name and your father's name. There's only one exception to this case. And this is why Allah mentions it again and again in the Quran. Whenever He mentions the name Isa, He says Isa ibn Maryam, son of Mary. All the rest of mankind, your name and your father's name. They changed the child of the sacrifice, because they couldn't have Ismail alayhi salam as the child of the sacrifice, but he's not included in the covenant. So now the new child of the sacrifice is Ishaq alayhi salam. And the place of the sacrifice is no longer Arabia. It is now relocated in Palestine. They did a number of other things. My book, which is downstairs, The Religion of Abraham and the State of Israel, documents all of these dramatic changes which took place in the Torah, which prevented them from recognizing Muhammad as a true prophet. They did a hatchet job, really, on Ismail salam, to exclude him completely and totally. They said, and it is still there in the Torah, he's a wild ass of a man. His hand against every man, some kind of a highway robber. And every man's hand against him, so our hand also can be upon him. So wailul lil Arab, woe unto the Arabs. Every man's hand against him. Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam is from the seed of that highway robber. While as of a man, so he cannot be a prophet of Allah. Not only did they reject him, but they did more than that. They now began to conspire to destroy Islam. This is the second Shaban in Medina. And it is at this moment, after 17 months that the door had remained open, it is at this moment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shuts the door. The door to divine mercy is now shut for the Jews. What did He do? In the Quran, there is an ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah which explains it. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ما ننسخ من آية أو ننسها نأتي بخير منها أو مثلها. We do not cause any ayah to be cancelled or abrogated or to be forgotten, but that we replace it with that which is better or similar. He didn't say different, did he? No, it's a better or similar. This is called naskh. The first act of naskh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala abrogates the old Qibla, replaces it with a new Qibla. The old Qibla is mansukh, abrogated. Not 50%, 100%. The new Qibla is not Washington. Not to Pervez Musharraf. The new Qibla is Makkah. Number two, He abrogates the law of fasting. The old law in the Torah is now mansukh, not 50%, 100% mansukh. Abrogated, cancelled, replaced with a new law. Where is the new law? In the Quran. The law does not come from the government. The law does not come from the Supreme Court. It most certainly doesn't come from the New Straits Times. The law does not come from the Prophet. Sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. The law does not come from Abu Bakr Siddiq. Radiallahu ta'ala. The law does not come from Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. The law comes from Al-Hakam, the lawgiver. Why am I doing this? Because of what follows. The new law is in the Quran. Came from Allah. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم. So you fast for Ramadan from dawn until sunset. وحل لكم ليلة الصيام الرفث إلى نسائكم. You can go to your wives now during the night time. Number 3, the old law for the punishment for zina is now mansukh, abrogated. He didn't say 50% or 75%. No, completely and totally abrogated. It is completely and totally replaced with a new law. And the new law is in the Quran. The new law is a public flogging. That ummah is also now mansukh. تلك أمة قد خلت, says Allah. It no longer has any legitimacy. It is now replaced with a new ummah. The ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. هو اجتباكم. He has now chosen you. When that occurred, the implication was that the door to mercy was closed. No longer can Banu Israel as an ummah earn Allah's mercy. An individual Jew can take the Shahada and become a Muslim. And provided that he is sincere in his Shahada and he is not attempting to deceive Allah and His Messenger, then he can have salvation. But as a community, the Jewish community no longer has any divine legitimacy. The further implication is that divine punishment now commences. And when divine punishment commences, Yawmul Qiyamah has started. The Prophet ﷺ now speaks. And he says, Ana wal Qiyamah kahatain. I and Qiyamah are like these two fingers. Meaning that Yawm al-Qiyamah commenced in the lifetime of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And we have been living in Yawm al-Qiyamah since that day. What did Allah do to punish Banu Israel? In Surah Al-A'raf of the Quran, He explains, وَإِذْ تَأَذَّنَ رَبُّكَ لَيَبْعَثَنَّ عَلَيْهِمْ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ مَنْ يَسُومُهُمْ سُوءَ الْعَذَابِ. And your Lord has now announced that He's now going to raise against Banu Israel those who will inflict upon Banu Israel continuously until the last day the worst possible punishment. Continuously until the last day. So it couldn't be Adolf Hitler because he's dead. Who is Allah going to raise? Who will continue until the last day to inflict the most horrendous punishment upon Banu Israel? Who is He going to raise? The companions were sitting talking amongst themselves when the Prophet ﷺ came and asked, what are you talking about? And they said, we're talking about the signs of the last day. The signs of Qiyamah. He said Qiyamah would not come until, and he mentioned 10 signs. Memorize them and teach them to your children. I'm going to give you the 10, but they're not necessarily in the chronological order in which they will occur. What are the 10? Number 1, Al-Masih al-Dajjal, Dajjal, the false Messiah. Number 2, Ya'juj and Ma'juj, Gog and Magog. Number 3, the return of the son of Mary. Number 4, Dukhan, smoke. Number 5, Dabbatul Ard, a beast which will emerge out of Al-Ard. Al-Ard means the earth, or it means the land. But in the context of the last age, Al-Ard more often than not means Al-Ardul Muqaddasa, the Holy Land.